of this. Okay, recording. Um, so we're trying something new this time. Our seminars for our workforce community have been in person since we started doing those, but we wanted to be able to offer it to more people because this is a session that we thought a lot of people could benefit from, and it made it easier for Mr. Francis to be able to do it for us. So, with that being said, Jeff Francis is going to talk to us today about workers' compensation, some changes that have taken place, and lots of good information. I know the Workforce Board did this as a virtually speaking seminar a while back and had a really good response. So we wanted to be able to offer it to our committee as well. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I apologize to y'all that I've got to jump off, but Amanda will finish this up when the seminar is over. And those of you on the committee, we hope to see you tomorrow at Milan High School at 10 o'clock for our tour of the CTE department. And if you're interested in being involved in the Gibson County Workforce Committee, reach out to me and we would love to get you added to that group. So y'all have a good day, and I will see y'all in the morning at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, Libby. Safe travels. Thank you, Amanda, for staying on and hosting this with me. I'm going to try to share my screen, so y'all tell me if I am actually sharing it or not. Hold on 1 second. Let me move my PowerPoint to the other side.
We got it.
So you can see me now? See my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. Again, my name is Jeff Francis. I am the Assistant Administrator of the Tennessee Bureau of Workers' Compensation. There is my contact information. I want to start by saying that if you have any questions today, tomorrow, next week, please feel free to reach out to me. You can call me, you can email me at my email address there, either way. If I bring up a question during this presentation, please stop me. Either unmute yourself and ask the question or type it in the chat, whatever you need to do to bring forth your question. I much prefer having some discussion back and forth rather than just being me talking for the next hour, because y'all are out there living in the real world. So I want to answer whatever questions y'all might have about workers' comp, if you've had somebody injured at work lately or not, because I'm going to start by saying something that might be a little bit controversial, and that is working is good for us. It may not be as good for us as fishing or golfing or shopping or taking a nap or whatever, but it is good for us because it allows us to connect with people. And I don't know about y'all, but I felt a tremendous disconnection during the shutdown, during the pandemic, when most people were working from home. And unfortunately, most of my coworkers are still working from home. I don't know how it is at your work site, but I miss some of those connections that we make. Work also gives us a purpose. For some of us, it gives us a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It definitely gives us some security. It allows us to put a roof over our head and clothes on our back and food on the table. But studies will prove that for people that work, they live longer. People who don't have a job don't live as long as those of us who do work. Working is good for us. So it's important that we try to get people who are injured at work back to work. 2 reasons. One, it's probably good for them, and it's probably good for you. Most of y'all are probably not overstaffed right now. I doubt that you're in a layoff situation. You're probably in a hiring situation where you would like to hire some folks if they would come in, met the qualifications, and put in an application. So if somebody gets injured at work, let's help bring them back to work as quickly as possible. Thankfully, jobs today are safer than they used to be. They're safer today than they were when our parents and grandparents worked. We have robotics, we have ergonomic studies, we have Tennessee OSHA, we have OSHA things to make sure that our workplaces are safe. But unfortunately, people still get injured at work. Let me ask a question. I'm going to be looking for some volunteers here. You can either unmute yourself and speak it out loud or type in a guess in the chat feature. How many people do you think got injured at work in Tennessee just last year? Just give me your guess. Let's pretend this is The Price is Right. Tell me what you think. How many people you think got hurt at work in Tennessee just last year? So there's 3 qualifiers: at work in Tennessee just last year. Please, somebody either unmute or type in a figure. 2,500 I see.
12,000.
10,000, 12,000. I haven't stopped anybody yet. 50,000, 1,600. I still haven't stopped anybody yet.
17,500.
You're close. How about 86,174? Just in Tennessee, just at work, just last year. That's about 230 people a day. 230 people a day. There's only 365 days in a year. There's only 95 counties in the state. That's a lot of people getting hurt at work. You know what the most common outcome is when somebody gets hurt at work? Thankfully, they get well and they go back to work. That's what we want all 86,000 people to do. Unfortunately, that's not what happens every time. In those cases where somebody gets hurt, gets well, goes back to work, we're not involved, which is the way we want it. Your insurance carrier reports the injuries to us. You have to report your injury to your insurance carrier. They report it to us. That's how we know the number. But that's the only involvement we want to have. Unfortunately, it's not the only involvement that we do have, because we do get involved when there's a dispute. If I went to my supervisor and said, I got hurt at work, and my supervisor said, I don't think you did. I think you got hurt playing softball and you're trying to make it a work comp claim, that's probably going to be a dispute. If I go to the doctor and the doctor wants to recommend a medical procedure, maybe a surgery on my aching shoulder, and the insurance adjuster says, I'm not going to approve that, that's probably going to be a dispute. Those are the types of instances that we get involved in. Either somebody doesn't trust anybody, somebody doesn't provide the benefits that they're entitled to or think they're entitled to. Maybe you have an insurance, maybe you have an employer out there that doesn't have an insurance policy, a workers' comp insurance policy. My goal today in this presentation is to do 2 things. It's to answer any question that you've got, and then to help you with some information to help you prevent those disputes so that you don't have to come to know me better or come to know our bureau better, teach you some proper best practices for handling workplace injuries to protect your rights and to save you money. Because you can save money on your workers' comp if you have somebody gets injured at work. One of the first things you need to realize is that both parties have rights. Me, the injured worker, has a right to certain benefits. You, my employer, have rights to place limits on those rights of mine. And since both of us have rights, it's important that we understand our rights so that we don't lose their rights. Is there anybody on this conference call this morning that owns where you work? Do you own the company that you're representing on this phone call? If so, then this slide may not apply to you. But if not, you're like me. I don't own the state. I'm an employee of the state. You probably are an employee of your company. You might wear multiple hats. You might be an employee and you might also be a supervisor. But as the employee or those people that you supervise, those employees, we as employees have a right to work comp benefits if we are injured or sickened by the work that we do. Read that sentence there. Nobody has to read it out loud, but I'm going to ask you for what you think is the most important part of that sentence when it comes to workers' comp. What do you think is the most important portion of that sentence when it comes to workers' comp? It is if they are injured or sickened because of their work. And that's important because that's a distinction, because it could say injured while at work. And that's not what it says. I'm at work right now. If I were to fall over on the floor right now because I had a heart attack, work is probably not the cause of me having a heart attack. it's probably because I'm old and fat. That's why I would have a heart attack now. Not because of work, but I'm at work. So a lot of employees think if they get hurt while they're at work, it must be workers' comp because it happened while I was at work. That's not the standard. The standard is work has to cause it. Your employees don't know that. They won't know that until somebody teaches them that. And because they don't know that, that might create a dispute. So just be realistic in realizing that most employees think it happened at work, it's workers' comp. That's not true. It must be caused by work. But I'm not a doctor. Chances are most of y'all are not doctors. So I don't know whether work causes me to get injured or sick. And I don't have to know that in order to report that. I have the right to report my injury to you if I believe, if I think, if I suspect work caused it. Because I'm a layperson, I don't know that. I need somebody smarter than me to tell me whether or not work caused it before I'm eligible for benefits, but not before I'm eligible to report my injury. So you, as a supervisor, should accept those reports of injury, but you don't have to provide benefits until the injured worker proves that work caused it. So I have the right to report it, and then I have the obligation to prove it. If I get injured at work because of my work, I'm entitled to possibly 2 different types of benefits: medical benefits to help me get well, and possibly wage replacement benefits if that doctor takes me off work while I'm healing. I say possibly because I have to miss at least 7 days. If I had a compensable workers' comp claim today, it happened at work. There's no doubt it happened at work. You might have even witnessed me being hurt at work. So there's no dispute about whether work caused it. It happened at work. Work caused it. And I missed 3 days. My doctor takes me off work for 3 days. I have no legal right to any wage replacement benefits because I didn't miss at least 7. Your employees don't know that. Your employees are going to think that they're entitled to their wages because work caused them to get hurt. It's only if their injury makes them miss more than 14 days that it goes back to day 1. So if I miss 10 days, I'm entitled to days 8, 9, and 10. Thankfully, of those 86,000 injuries, most of them are med only, meaning they didn't miss any time. But if I have the right to report my injury to you, you have a right as well to have some control over the care provided to me. Tennessee is a business-friendly state. The laws tend to favor companies and employers more than injured workers because there's not any other aspect of your medical care in which your employer has any control over. If you get injured at work, they do. How do you exercise that right? How do you take control? By having me report my injury to you immediately so that you know that I got injured. I can't wait around for a long time and then tell you, oh, I got hurt about a month or 2 ago. I forgot to tell you. You have the right to expect me to report my workplace injury to you immediately, but what does the word immediately mean? Most people think immediately means right now, right? They mean right now. That's what immediately means, right? Immediately, right now? That's not what immediately means at all. Immediately means 15 days, at least 15 days of when I knew or should have known. What does that mean? Knew or should have known. Let me give you an example. Let's assume for a minute that I work in a sawmill. I'm cutting trees into board lumber. I'm operating a bandsaw and I'm cutting trees into board lumber. And during the process of doing that, I cut off my thumb. My thumb is gone. I know, right? I just cut off my thumb. I know I cut off my thumb. Let's assume for a minute that I work in a heavy manufacturing plant. And I worked at that heavy manufacturing plant for 30 years. And I retired 5 years ago. I haven't worked anywhere for the last 5 years. But at that heavy manufacturing plant, there was a lot of racket in the background. The machinery makes a lot of noise. And nobody wears those earplugs because they make you look goofy and they don't fit right. So nobody ever wears those earplugs. So I worked there 30 years with a lot of background racket. And now my ear's not so good. I don't hear too well. But I've been retired for 5 years. And what I like to do every day is sit on that couch and watch TV. In the morning, I've got it on The Price is Right. And in the afternoon, I've got it on Judge Judy. All is well. But I've got that TV turned up really loud because I don't hear so well. And one day my wife is fed up with it. She walks in the room and she says, turn that thing down. You know what I say? Huh? Because I don't hear so well. Turn that thing down. You can't hear it thunder. You need to go find out why you can't hear. So I do. I go find out why I can't hear. I go to the doctor. The doctor says, Jeff, what did you do for your career before you retired? I worked at that manufacturing plant down the road, Doc. That one's got all that racket in the background. That's the one. Worked there for 30 years. Well, you know why, Jeff? That's why you can't hear. Because you had all that background noise for 30 years. Do I have a work comp claim? It says 15 days of me knowing or should have known. Do I have a work comp claim? It's been a lot longer than 15 days. I haven't worked in 5 years. There's a good chance I do. Because it says 15 days of when I should have known. When should I have known? When the doctor diagnosed it. He just now diagnosed it. So even though I haven't worked there in 5 years, I probably have a work comp claim today because I was just diagnosed with a work-related hearing loss. So when I tell you they have at least 15 days, that's what I'm talking about. Protect your rights, even if you think it's a lot longer than 15 days. You don't act like it was anything other than 15 minutes ago. That's how you protect your rights. Let the system deal with whether or not it's a compensable injury. If you tell the guy, you didn't get hurt here, go back to work or go home, you're going to create a dispute that's going to increase your cost because I have at least 15 days to report my injury. And that example of a hearing loss may not be as easy to understand as maybe this one. If you're old enough to remember September 11th of 2001, you remember all those first responders that ran into the World Trade Center and tried to save all those people, and far too many were killed, but a lot of other ones developed lung cancers and emphysema and asthma and COPD and all types of other diseases. Do we think that those manifested in 15 days? They don't. Sometimes people just don't know they're sick within 15 days. So realize that you should never reject somebody telling you they got hurt at work because you think it was more than 15 days ago. But what I do need you to do is go back and check your company handbook. What does your company policy say about reporting an injury? There are a lot of company policies out there that say, if you don't tell me before the end of the shift, if you don't tell me before the end of the week, if you don't tell me within 48 hours or something like that, I'm going to deny the claim because it's too late. Our company policy is you must tell us sooner than 15 days. If you have that policy, the policy is illegal. Employees have at least 15 calendar days to report an injury. I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions or comments about 15 days, because that's a big point that I need to make sure everybody knows about. Please unmute or type something in the chat. I welcome your questions. So what happens if somebody waits till day 16 or day 30? Can you tell them too bad, so sad? Only if you want to run the risk of being penalized. We will issue a penalty for not accepting that report of injury. What if you think the guy's lying? What if you saw somebody slide into second base in the beer softball league last night, twist their ankle, had to come out of the game, comes to work the next morning and says they twisted their ankle on the back dock? Can you call him a liar? Tell him to go back to work or go home? Only if you want to run the risk of a penalty. What should you do to protect your rights? Let them go to the doctor. Remember I told you a minute ago, I'm not smart enough to know whether work caused my injury or not. A doctor is. A doctor gets paid to make that determination. Letting them go to the doctor protects your rights. How do you do that? By giving them a panel of doctors. That's a right that employers in this state have fought for. If you go just to the north, to the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, there an injured worker chooses what doctor they want to go to. They can go to any doctor that they want to. They can't in Tennessee because employers have fought for the right to restrict that. Give a panel of doctors. Tell me which doctors to choose from. It must be at least 3 doctors. At least 3 doctors to choose from in my community. Here's another places that employers mess up. You probably have workers that come in from a variety of counties. That means you should not have a cookie cutter panel of doctors on the break room wall, because it should be in the employee's community, close to where they live. And then make it specific to whatever the injury is that I'm complaining about. If I come to you and say, I hurt my shoulder, you're probably going to send me to an orthopedic. You might send me to a walk-in clinic, an OCMED doctor, a family practitioner. If I splash bleach in my eyes, are you going to send me to an orthopedic? No, you're not. So give me the doctors that are appropriate for whatever injury I'm claiming. And you've got 3 days to provide that list. That's why you should not have a panel of doctors on the break room wall. Please, if you don't hear any other thing than this, if you have a panel of doctors on your break room wall somewhere, take it down immediately. It is not in your best interest to have it up there. You have 3 days to give me a panel if I say I got hurt at work. It should be in my community. The one on there is in the community of the work site. And I would wager this, that if you have a panel on the break room wall today, it includes an emergency room. They always do. If I get hurt at 10:30 tonight, an ER might be the best option. It might be the only place open. If I get hurt at 10:30 in the morning, and it's not the only place open, it may or may not be the best place, but what it is the most expensive place. So why do you want to give everybody the option to go to the most expensive place in town? Don't do that. Take it down if you have the panel on the break room wall. It's not in your best interest. You can use walk-in clinics if you want to, but make sure you list the name of the supervising MD of that walk-in clinic. They all have one. They have to have one. So don't write down fast pace on Main Street. Write down fast pace on Main Street, Dr. Smith, or whoever their supervising MD is. And that medical care is free of charge to me. There's no deductible, there's no copay, and I get it for as long as I need it. It might be the rest of my life, but I'm entitled to that for as long as I need it. So again, you must accept any notice of claims, not just the ones you believe, not the ones that you witnessed, not the ones you think might have happened the way they described it. Any notice of claim. I'm going to stop there. That's heavy stuff about the panel of doctors. Again, welcome your questions. Either unmute or type them in the chat. Once I report my injury to you, I've got 15 days to report that to you. You have 1 day to tell your insurance adjuster. 1 day. I've got 15 days to tell you. You've got 1 day to tell your insurance adjuster. Reporting it is not going to increase your rates. Report them. Your rates will be affected by whether or not it's a compensable claim, what their salary is, how bad the injury is, how much medical is provided. Reporting does not increase your rate. So give a doctor, give a panel, because they will tell you whether it is work related or not. If you're not giving panels, you're not doing what's in your best interest. You're creating disputes that's going to cost you more. You do not have the legal right to accept or deny a claim. Your insurance adjuster has that right, not you. Those of you that ever talk to your insurance adjuster, if you're ever the one that calls them and says so-and-so got hurt at work, I want you to ask a couple of questions the next time you talk to them. The first question is, where are you right now? Literally, where is your office? Where are you sitting right now? Chances are it's not in the state of Tennessee. That means they need your help to investigate that claim. You can talk to the injured worker about what story they have, and then you can talk to any witnesses. You might have surveillance film, anything that might be able to provide them assistance. Also ask them, how many open claims do you have on your desk right now? Ask the adjuster that, because that's going to tell you how much time they're going to be able to allocate to your guy's claim. Our goal is to help them get back to their health and back to their job as quickly as possible. Back to their health, back to their job as quickly as possible. If that insurance adjuster tells you they've got 200 or 300 open claims on their desk right now, they're not going to be able to give you much time, or that injured worker much time. And it might be time to shop for a different work comp insurance carrier. It's not unusual to find an adjuster that has half a dozen or more states. It's not unusual to find an insurance adjuster that has 200 or 300 open claims on their desk. We train insurance adjusters. We ask them how many claims, how many states. It's not unusual at all to find one with half a dozen states and 200 or 300 open claims. That's not good practices on their part. Your guy is not going to get the care, the attention that they need. Somebody tells you they got hurt at work, especially if you think they're lying to you, have them give you a written statement. That's how you'll be able to prove that they're lying to you, because the statement I give you today will be different than the statement I give to the doctor when I go to the doctor and explain how I got hurt. And it'll be different than the statement that I give to the insurance adjuster when they contact me, because I can't remember what I told everybody. I'm lying. So help the adjuster determine whether it's a compensable claim by giving them the information that they need. And if you choose to ignore what I'm talking about, you can get hit with a 25% penalty for late payment of benefits. I'm trying to help you save money. I'm trying to help you protect your rights. I'm trying to help the injured worker get back to work and back to health as quickly as possible. That means don't deny claims. You don't have the right. And if you choose to not give me a panel of doctors because you don't think I got hurt at work, or you choose to tell me to go to a particular doctor rather than give me a panel of doctors, there's a $5,000 penalty awaiting you. $5,000 penalty awaiting you. Don't do that. It's not in your best interest. If you don't have workers' comp, buy workers' comp. Even if you're not required to purchase it, it might be in your best interest. Otherwise, you might be sued under a tort claim. And once you have that workers' comp policy, there is a required posting notice. Did I say required posting notice? Yes, I did. I said that there is a required posting notice. I don't want any employer on here to raise their hand. I don't want anybody to unmute and say, yep, that's me. But I'd be willing to wager that there's not more than one or two, if any at all, on this call right now that have this posting notice posted in your workplace. And the law says you must. If there is somebody, please unmute. I would love to congratulate you, to thank you, to pat you on the back. Because even though the law requires this, there are very, very few employers that actually comply with this law and have this posted.
We have it posted in all 6 locations.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. All that simply tells your employees is who they should report their injuries to. Thank you, Stacy. If you want me to report my injury, tell me who to report it to. Stacy mentioned having 6 different locations. The name may not be the same at all 6 locations, so make it appropriate for whatever work site it is. If you operate 3 shifts, if I work on the 3rd shift, I may not report it to the same person as if I worked on the 1st shift. If you got multiple sites on a campus, on a work campus, I might report it to one person in this building and a different person if I worked in a different building. Thank you, Kenra. That's true. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's available on our website. I'll show you where to find it in a couple of minutes. It's available in English and Spanish and Korean. Posted in whatever appropriate languages. If you have somebody hurt at work, they're going to have questions. They are going to have questions. Where are they going to go for advice, for answers? Maybe their spouse, maybe their friends and neighbors, maybe either somebody in the break room. Maybe that lawyer that advertises on TV. What if they came to you? I hope you want them to come to you rather than that lawyer that advertises on TV. That means they trust you. That means that they look to you for advice and assistance. That means that they're going to cooperate with you. If they come to you, you may not know the answer. That's fine. You're not paid to know workers' comp. You're paid to create widgets, whatever you do at your company. That's what you're paid to do. But it sure would be nice if you or somebody might have some basic knowledge of workers' comp so that they don't feel the need to call that lawyer. So we've produced this 1-page document called A Beginner's Guide to Tennessee Workers' Comp. It's on our website. Give that to your injured employees. It will introduce them to us, to our ombudsman program that will answer their questions, help them maneuver the system. We don't charge anything. That lawyer that advertises on TV is going to get 20%. We'll tell them about what benefits they're entitled to. Who pays them? They're going to think either we, the state, pay them, or you, the company, pays them, not the insurance carrier pays them. And they're not going to understand that they don't draw 100% of their salary. So we're going to explain that to them, that they're going to get basically 2/3 of their salary. So give them that document. I'll show you where to find it on our website. It too is available in English, Spanish, and Korean. And the toll-free number for you or anybody else to call to ask questions is 800-332-2667. It's on that document. We want to be available to you. I'm the assistant administrator of the Bureau. Some of y'all might deal with multiple state agencies. I want the Bureau of Workers' Compensation to be the absolute best, the most customer-friendly, the most accessible agency that you deal with, period. If we are not, please let me know. I know not all state agencies are. Not all state agencies want to. I want to. I will demand it of us. Let me give you an example. I'm going to pat myself on the back just for a moment. I mentioned that I like to work in the office. I'm in the office today. We had a walk-in that came in, Spanish-speaking walk-in. I don't speak Spanish. We have a Spanish-speaking ombudsman that was here in the office today. That walk-in, they called me because they needed some help. They didn't know what kind of help they needed, so the guards called my desk to ask if we could come out there and speak to them. We went out there and spoke to them. This was somebody that had got fired when they were in the hospital for not a work-related injury, so it wasn't workers' comp. They had an injury that had occurred off of work. Were in the hospital. They got fired while they were in the hospital, and they were here because they didn't get paid their vacation time and their last week's pay. We have a unit here in the Department of Labor to help them. The Labor Standards Unit helps them. It's supposed to help them. So we called upstairs to the Labor Standards Unit, and you know what that lady said? I'm not coming downstairs. She was in the building. I'm not coming downstairs. They have to do it online. Okay, is it available in Spanish online? No. We're public servants. State employees are public servants. That agency has no desire to be the best in the state or the best that you deal with. That's not us. We will answer your phones. You're not going to get a bunch of messages with us. If you get a message with us, we're going to call you back. If you email us, we're going to reply. We are available. Please let us know. HCS has it posted. Thank you. It's about treating your employees fairly. so they don't feel disrespected, so they don't feel the need to lawyer up. If they lawyer up, you and your insurance company are going to lawyer up. Sometimes lawyers are needed. Oftentimes they're not. They can be avoided. It can be saved. We can save money by simply doing the right thing. I'm going to talk about a couple of other programs that we have here in the Bureau. One is our drug-free workplace program. I'm going to ask you, again, if you want to unmute and speak, or if you want to type it in the chat, you can. If you don't want to answer at all, I want to ask you the question, do you have a drug-free policy at your work site? Do you at least have a drug-free policy at your work site? Because if you don't, and I'm a drug user, guess what? I'm going to come to work for you because you don't have a policy. So if you have a policy, that's a good first step. But that's all that it is a good first step. And had you brought it with you and had you been able to compare it with somebody else, they probably all share these types of components. You have a drug-free policy because you want to have a drug-free workplace. You want to discourage anybody from coming to work drunk or high or getting drunk or high at work. And if they choose to violate your policy, you're going to penalize them. You might fire them. You might suspend them. You have a right to terminate them. You have a right to discipline them if they violate your policy. I would be willing to wager that if you have a drug-free policy, it has some portions of those components in it. And that's great as a start. But it's just a start. I'm going to show a video, and this video is hard to watch, but I want you to do two things. I want to watch it. I'm going to let it loop. It'll play a couple of different times. The first time, just watch it. The second time, watch it and count the number of employees that you see. And then maybe the third time, watch it, count the number of employees that you see that get out. So here's the video. Hard to watch. Watch it this time and count the number of employees that you see. One on the tow motor, a couple down there at the bottom. Oh, there goes a third one down there at the bottom. Was there anybody in these other aisles? I don't know. There's no way that guy on the tow motor got out of there. Is he drunk or high? I have no idea. Let's assume that he was. Let's assume that during his lunch break, he went out in the parking lot, sat in his truck and drank a cold Miller Lite. And he came back in. This is after lunch, and he's driving that tow motor, and he drives it right into that shelf. He survived. Y'all have a drug-free policy. Your drug-free policy says we do post-accident drug tests. Most drug-free policies say we have a post-accident drug test. So he pees in a cup. It pops positive because I told you he drank a cold Miller Lite at lunch. So your policy says we terminate people that violate our policy. So you fire him. That's fine. You haven't violated his rights. You haven't violated the law. You haven't violated your policy. Everything's fine. But he's still hurt. When you fired him, did you fire his claim? No, you did not. If all you have is a policy, you got rid of him. That's a good thing. You send a message to the other people that if they violate your policy, you're going to fire them too. That's a good thing. But it's probably not the result that you want. You would like to be able to deny that claim because he was drunk when he got hurt. But you can't if all you have is a policy. Even if he violates your policy, even if you fire him. That's assuming that you're not a member of our drug-free workplace program. We have a drug-free workplace program. And if you're not a member of our drug-free workplace program, that guy is entitled to benefits even though you fired him. Until you, not him, until you prove, not allege, prove that his alcohol caused him to have that wreck. And it's not just presence in the system. It was present in his system. But to prove that the alcohol was the cause, there's a legal standard of intoxication in Tennessee. Most of us probably realize that the legal standard for intoxication of alcohol in Tennessee is 0.08. One beer is not going to hit 0.08. On the smallest person on this phone call today, one beer is not going to register 0.08. It's not going to intoxicate him. So therefore, you're not going to be able to prove intoxication. You cannot prove that the alcohol caused him to have that accident. So you're going to pay that claim if all you have is a drug-free policy. But if you enforce that policy by being a member of our drug-free workplace program, then you can deny that claim until the injured worker, not you, proves, not alleges, proves that alcohol is not the cause of that. And that's hard to do. So consider joining our drug-free workplace program. Joining it is free. It does not cost a nickel. But it allows you to deny those claims. It also gets you a 5% premium credit on whatever your insurance premiums are today. They'll go down by 5%. And you can also deny my unemployment when I file for unemployment, because when you fire me, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to file for unemployment. So you can deny that too. I told you it's free to join. It is free to join. There are a couple of costs associated with joining because you have to do drug tests. You have to do pre-employment drug test. You have to do post-accident drug test. You can do random drug tests if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. But whatever drug tests you do are not free. So there's a cost of doing drug tests that you may or may not be doing today. You also have to train employees and supervisors one time, 1 hour. Supervisors 2 hours, employees 1 hour, one time. Training is not free. But just think about that claim on that guy that was on that tow motor. How many thousands, tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars would be saved by denying that one claim? You could do an awful lot of drug testing with that much money saved. You could do an awful lot of training with that much money saved. So consider joining the Drug-Free Workplace Program. The next program I want to talk to you about is a newer program. It's called the Reward Program. Reward is an acronym. It stands for Return Employees to Work and Reduce Disabilities. It goes back to what I talked about first thing. Get injured workers back to work. Find them something they can do. Work with the treating doctors, work with the case managers, work with the adjusters. Make sure that the treating doctors know that you have light duty available for them. Some of y'all are probably familiar with a company called Averitt Express. Averitt Express is a Tennessee-based employer. It's an over-the-road truck driving company. You see Averitt trucks up and down the interstate all the time, bright red trucks. They've got hubs all across the state of Tennessee. They have a wonderful return to work program. Most of their employees drive trucks. If you injure your shoulder or your back, you may not be driving a truck for a while. If they can't find a job in one of their warehouses and their hubs, they will pay their employees to work at a nonprofit, because it's better to get injured employees back to work doing something. And if you can't find something to do at your work site, work with a local nonprofit. Because injured workers who aren't allowed to work sit at home and they troll the internet all day long to find out how much money they're going to be paid. Get them back to work. People heal quicker working than sitting at home. Get them back to work. We train employers how to do this. We have a toolkit on our website to help teach employers how to have a return to work program and all of the benefits of having that. All the way down to choosing the right doctors and making sure the doctors know that you will bring them back to work. I'll show you where it's on our website, but if you want to get out your phone and use that QR code there, it will take you directly to the toolkit. This is free as well. One of the things that we do is provide training, online training just like this. These are 1.5-hour sessions scheduled every other week. There's 6 of them for a total of 12 different weeks, or 7 of them for a total of 14 weeks, I think now. All are free. We teach you about workers' comp and how to get people back to work. It is free. If you're interested in joining the next session, email Marion White and ask her when the next session starts. Join a couple of different sessions. See if it's something interesting to you that might be helpful to you. Again, it's free. It's online just like today. You can do it from the comfort of your desk, from your office, from your home, wherever you're at today. If somebody brings you a doctor's note that says they cannot pick up 25 pounds, most people look at that and say, that means they can't pick up 25 pounds. That's not what it says. It does not say they cannot pick up 25 pounds. You know what it says? It says they can pick up 24 pounds or 23 pounds or 22 pounds. Find them a job that will allow them to pick up less than 25 pounds. Focus on what they can do, not what they cannot do. Because if you look at them as being disabled, that's how they're going to view them disabled as themselves. I am so hurt, I cannot even work. I must be entitled to a lot of money. Find them something to do. So as I wrap up, talking about workers' comp in general, a lot of the problems with workers' compensation go back 100 years. We've had workers' compensation in Tennessee since 1919. We weren't the first state. Wisconsin was the first state. But how many times do we get to say in this state, thank God for Mississippi, because we weren't the last state either. Mississippi was the last state. But the problem with workers' compensation goes back 100 years. You know what it is? It's our name, workers' compensation. When I utter those two words, workers' compensation, what word rings in your ears? What word do you think rings in the ears of an injured worker? It's the word compensation, I guarantee you, because compensation means money. I want some of that. Give me some of that workers' compensation, some of that money. Imagine if it had been called workers' recovery 100 years ago rather than workers' comp. If it had always been known as workers' recovery rather than workers' comp, we wouldn't have nearly the problems we've got today, because that's what it should be about, helping somebody recover and going back to work. It can be a workers' recovery system at your work site if you'll just go back to Sunday school, go back to vacation Bible school, go back to kindergarten, go back to wherever it was that you first learned about the golden rule and doing unto others as you would have done unto you. How would you want to be treated if you were the one that got hurt? Wouldn't it be nice if your supervisor helped you make those doctor's appointments? If your supervisor stayed on that insurance adjuster to make sure that they got my benefits on time? How about you let me know that I'm missed? Do y'all ever call your injured workers? Do you ever invest $2.50 and mail a get well card? That's the best, $2.50. That's the best investment you can make in a work comp system, to make it a workers' recovery system. Mail them a get well card. We're here to help. I told you I want us to be the best state agency that you deal with. Call us. Ask our advice, ask for assistance, ask your questions. As I wrap up, the 7 things I'm asking you to do: accept the report of injury and give them a panel of doctors. Accept the report of injury, give a panel of doctors. Call your insurance adjuster, whether you think I'm lying or not. Give me a copy of that beginner's guide. I'm going to show you where it's at. Have me give you a written statement, especially if you think I'm lying to you. If you've got an internal form, some companies have an internal injury form, fill that out. Have the injured worker fill it out. Start your investigation if you have any reason to think I'm lying. And then work to make sure that nobody else gets hurt the same way. If there's a puddle of water, somebody slips in, mop it up. If there's some live wires, tape them up. If somebody needs help picking up a 50-pound bag, get them the help they need. Make sure nobody else gets hurt that same way. Here is our website. This is what the website looks like today. If you go there, it's a long top to bottom website. That's the top half. Here's the bottom half. That's the top half. If you scroll down, this is the bottom half. I mentioned you could find forms on our website. There's a whole link there to forms. I mentioned that beginner's guide. There's a link to the beginner's guide. Here's a whole column of information for employers. If you've got questions, there's a whole column of information just for you. Your employees, if they've got questions, direct them to our website. There's a whole column of information geared towards them. That website is easy to remember, tn.gov/workers-comp. tn.gov/workers-comp. That's it. We've got 10 minutes or whatever you need to ask questions. I mentioned to Amanda earlier on that if anybody wants a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, I'm more than willing to share it with you. So you can either email me or email her and we'll give it to anybody that wants it. But Amanda, do we still have time for anybody to
Yeah.
have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, if you can't unmute yourselves, I'll unmute you. I think everybody can. I think it's just if you want to turn your camera on, you may have to, if I've turned it off. But yeah, it's time to ask some questions. And Jeff, if you'll email me that PowerPoint, I'll go ahead and just email it to everybody on this list.
I
I've
will
got
do
this
that.
recorded. I'm going to post it on our YouTube channel. I'll send it out. I think it's gonna be too big to email, but I can probably Dropbox it to anybody who just wants a copy of it instead of watching it online.
Classes, just go to your website for that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to the YouTube list. I mean, the YouTube link. Yep.
Thank all of y'all for giving me some of your time this morning. Again, you had my contact information earlier on, so please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance at any time. Amanda?